morning, everyone. Just want to say that it's quite an honor to be presenting with such distinguished individuals in the action research field. Fairly new to this. For about 1 year, I've been involved in some sort of action research, whether through classes or at Stevenson, where I teach Spanish 2 and 3 Accelerated. Spanish 2 is the classroom in which I'm conducting the action research plan currently. And it's only been about a semester, so the data collection is just for the first time coming around in the next couple of weeks, and the actual analysis of the data will be coming soon. So the effectiveness is not quite yet known in a numerical quantitative field, but definitely throughout the process I've seen very, very good benefits of what has been going on. I'm actually doing this project with a colleague of mine who has a basketball coaching commitment, so I will be presenting the rest of it. Like my title said, it's through simple methods. I think when this was produced to us through the administration, we'd like some teachers to undertake a research project. The word research really struck us as, okay, we are second-year teachers. Now we're just getting into teaching, comfortable with the curriculum, and now we have to do research. And what we found was it's actually very simple and informal in most cases, especially when it's just an initial beginning project. Just some overview on my project. It is in Spanish 2. And at Stevenson High School, we have a SMART goal for each level of languages, and ours happens to be reading, which basically means that is the aspect of the language that we're going to focus on and collect data on, and then analyze our formative assessments according to end-of-the-year data and chapter-by-chapter data as well. So like I said, our formative assessments consist of chapter reading quizzes that have been given since before I started. This is nothing new. Year in and year out, we amend them, we change questions, we add questions, whatever it may be. And it is completely objective. It goes into a data collection program called Mastery Manager that is then analyzed. Is number 2 a question that students are getting wrong because it is just higher level thinking and we're dealing with freshmen in high school here with a foreign language, or is it something that we can change? So it is reflection based, but ultimately the data collection is just objective, and we can see how our students are progressing in the reading field. What we decided that our reading is not so much for analysis at this level because, like I said, Spanish 2 students are, the majority of them are freshmen coming into the high school level, quite a rigorous curriculum that they're quite intimidated, that is based on vocabulary acquisition. So what we decided to do was, what I'll get to later with our resources, was collaborate with our reading specialists that hadn't really been brought into the foreign language field in terms of our department. And I think that was a step that no one really had, either they hadn't even thought about it, or it was just too much. We have our curriculum, let's stick with this, we're teaching them a language. It just doesn't really fit. And what we found was, it's very simple. They came to us and said, you're overthinking this. All you can really do here is go with these word families, which we had been doing, but not really formally, and word walls. And in our classrooms, you go into a foreign language classroom, especially maybe a Spanish one, you'll see the Spanish flag, you'll see the Mexican flag, you'll see stuff like that. But you never really saw anything more in terms of vocabulary, in fact, except for the words like fantastico, everything like that. Just kind of, fluff on the wall to make it look like a foreign language classroom. And what we started doing was creating these word walls, and my classroom right now is covered in butcher paper of vocab words, grammar, conjugation, something that, like Joe said before that I mentioned, that was a very big surprise to me, and I just learned at the beginning of this year, that a student has to see, hear, or utilize a word, speak or write, 44 times before it becomes part of the vocabulary. And in English, that doesn't seem to be a problem. They can use it at home. But as they only have maybe 50 minutes per day, not even in terms of the beginning of class, end of class, maybe 45 minutes per day of Spanish, that they're not going to use a word 44 times before the end of the chapter. So seeing it on the wall, when they can just glance around and maybe a word catches their eye, that's once. And as many times as they can do that, I'm sure they're looking around the classroom more than 44 times in a 50-minute period. it really does get to that point of acquisition of vocab. The vocab acquisition, the data collection, is not numerical. It's not quantitative for us. It's me watching the kids create these word walls, create these word families, and reflecting on a daily basis, on a chapter basis, on how we can improve that process, etc. So the word families, what we've decided to do, and again, chapter by chapter basis has been changing, was that the students receive a vocabulary list at the beginning of the chapter. Now it's their responsibility, their group project, to choose which words seem difficult to them. Maybe throughout the chapter, this one, it's not a cognate. It is not something that they've seen before. It may deal with vocabulary they don't even know in English. We had one word for marionette, and none of them knew what a marionette was. I had to say, well, it's like a puppet. It's, you know, show them an example, stuff like that. It's things like that that will connect them to the language instead of just that translation of a marionette. That doesn't make much sense to them. So we have to really make those connections. Now the next step, and it really does just break down into a 50-minute block of time broken down in 2 days, is the students creating these word families. The word walls come from their words of being difficult and them deciding what is going to be the connection we're going to make here. What is a synonym for this? What is an antonym for this? Anything that they can make a connection on their own. And it was difficult at first, but it's gone on, and you know, with support, they have really caught on. The word families is now, again, at the beginning, I would give them a certain amount of vocabulary words with pre-made categories, and they would just place them. There wouldn't be much discussion about why someone put a word into one category, because it's pretty much supported for them already. One word had to go in this family for one reason or another. As time has gone on, we've reflected, we said, well, now let's try and make it so they create the categories, the word families. And that really comes into them acquiring the vocabulary on their own, without me telling them this deals with food. They can create any kind of category they want, and it really comes down to them explaining why, and then me seeing the process of them acquiring the knowledge of what that word really means and what it means to them. So that's an overview of what we're doing now. And